since he's not in the picture anymore in active politics, but the general perception in Sarawak is that he's still the one who pulled the string behind the scene. Whether it's true or false is not important, but in politics it's all about perceptions. And if Barisan Nasional failed to counter these perceptions, this is where one of the reasons to explain why there is no significant shift among the Chinese voters. There is a huge difference in terms of interpretation for Sarawak, for Sarawakians. Some people will go to the extreme of calling for secession, but on the part of the chief ministers, he's asking only for autonomy, a greater power for the state government, akin to the pre-Malaysia agreement. And he said it clearly that he's not going to support secession because he still believes in the Federation of Malaysia. And I think this is also a strategic move on the part of Adnan, and he basically hijacked the whole opposition agenda, because the one who basically started the whole discourse on autonomy, 18 points, higher oil royalty were the opposition. But Adnan was saying that, hey, who is in a better position to fight for this if not the incumbent government? Back then we have a very strong federal government. But what is different during Adnan's administration is federal government that have to listen to the state government. So this is where he's basically taking advantage of the whole situation and demanding for autonomy. Barisan Nasional, for example, using this Sarawak nationalism sentiment to push aside the influence of this opposition national-based party. I think the Impian Sarawak project is a good effort on the part of the AP to make inroad into rural Sarawak. But I have to stress the word, a good start, because this journey to penetrate rural voters and rural Sarawak is a long-term process. Instead of focusing on just deploying development projects, I think they need to focus on projects that empower the people, that give people power to decide on their own. When they can become self-sustaining and independent, they don't rely on the government to stay alive. So when new ideas come in, let's say new political parties, new candidates that can convince the voters that they can be a better alternative to the existing one, they are open to it. So that's what happened to places like Baklalan and places like Telangusan. So I think if let's say the focus of Impian Sarawak under DAP is doing this, I think the next 3, 4, 5 election they might see the results. If you look at the 11 new seats, currently if you look at based on the 2011 election results, out of 11 new seats, 9 will go to Barisan Nasional. The only 2 seats that at the moment, based on 2011 election results, will go to DAP, the opposition, basically Batu Kitang and also Sama Laju. And if you truly want to introduce new seats because of the increase in terms of the voters, I think you need to introduce more seats in the urban areas. But the problem is the urban areas will constitute of the Chinese majority seats, and that will not be part of the game plan, right? Because it's a Malay Melanau-led government, the most number of seats, the new seats were introduced are basically Malay Melanau seats. 4 out of the 11 seats are basically Malay Melanau majority seats. And definitely these seats will go to PBB. Sarawakians need to see that this election is not only about Adnan Satim, that this election is not only about Sarawak, this election is about you endorsing the federal government and also its national policies as well. So if you are not happy with GST, for example, I think you need to say that, you need to show it in the ballot box. If not, you can't be saying that this election is just about giving Adnan Satim a mandate. Because at the end of the day, Adnan Satim is part of the larger Barisan Nasional system. In the last few elections in Sarawak, past know their limit. So what they did was, I think this is what a smaller party, less influential party should do. You just focus on a few seats. And the way they project themselves quite differently in Sarawak. They didn't talk about Islam, hudud, negara Islam, they highlighted more on the issues of poverty, the lack of development in Beting Maru. There's also a huge land issue there, so they exploited that issue. And then also Amanah. Amanah is a totally new party. I think for a new party, they could have focused on a few seats because you have such a limited resources. What you can do is to reduce the majority votes of Barisan Nasional.